Cool. Alright, we're live. Hopefully no reverb. If there's reverb, I think I know how to fix it real quick, so you might have to, I might have to just pay attention and see if it gets that bad. We'll restart. But yeah, third episode of The Hammer. We got some new faces here. First off, joining me as always, it's Toxic. How are you today, Toxic? How's the Dark Angels coming along?
Slow now. Slowed down a bit. Working on some commissions. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Joining us for the first time, the lovely Jamie Bell. How are you, Jamie?
Well, I am good. Yeah, Ricky, you're probably know me from Screenshot and my onesie, but I mean, yeah, first time.
Yeah. And of course.
Yeah.
And of course, the over-enthusiastic, and I'm not really sure why I asked him here because he's having way too much fun, it's Kazrai.
Good. I'm also a sporting bastard on Tumblr, and that's about it.
Yeah.
They can find me.
Alright, so main topic of today, New Warriors Chaos release. Very interesting choice on Games Workshop's part to release that book, considering that there are some armies that need it bad. Jamie's internally screaming that should have been Wood Elves, but they chose Chaos instead. So, what is the overall impression of the book, Kaz? I've unfortunately, because of the blizzard, I wasn't able to fully read the codex. However, Kaz is very prepared. So, first impressions of the book.
Well, I find that it's a lot prettier. It's hardcover, so that's all good and all. But my main thing is the fact that they kept all the stories the same for the most part, and you think they would add a lot more about the new things, they'd add like new models and such, but you don't see much of that in there at all, other than in the actual parts we read about them and the parts at the end. So, I mean, all in all, I love the book. I'm just disappointed about Marauders, but then.
Right, and like I said, I've for those of you who don't know, my Warriors, I've probably played Warriors more of this edition of Fantasy than any other army, so I am familiar with the last codex. The main thing that seems to really stick out more is they have a lot more viable unit options. They've definitely added more, so I'm not just taking Warriors and Marauders. I mean, you just look at some like the Sweet Dragon Ogre models and stuff like that, and you just definitely think those would look nicely on your ranks overall. And yeah, you probably won't be just spamming Warriors and Marauders anymore with characters. There's definitely some interest to it. I mean, yeah, the tactics. I mean, what are you planning to run for an army list? Because one of the huge things I've been reading is a lot of people are planning on taking Throg and taking the all-beast army list. I mean, is that something you're going to do? Like, just completely forego all this stuff?
No, I still think I'm going to take a lot of Warriors and Knights and whatnot. The reason I'm not going to change anything else right now is because I don't have the money to spend on models. I will be crossing them, though, because there's a lot of things in there that really interest me. A lot of new models and whatnot. As for having too many beasts, probably not so much because of the way it might fluff to be.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix stuff with my microphone, so I do apologize if I'm trying to fix stuff as we go. So, definitely going to be taking Warriors, you're not going to go the all-beast route, which is kind of strange, I mean, when you think about it. But it's something we've been talking a lot about on previous episodes of the Hammer, which is the fact that your character choice affects how your army plays more. Is this something we could see a bit more in Fantasy, or is this something that would be possibly a bit more interesting? I mean, Jamie, for example, would you like to see something in the Wood Elf book when possibly trees are a special choice unless you take a branch wraith, compared to if you just take a tree singer, which would be normal elves? I mean, is that something that would appeal to you as a player?
Well, Well, I mean, you already have Draco, which means forest spirits. It means it's a rule, you need forest spirits. But I mean, I generally think having the playstyle focused on the character allows tactics to be combated much more easily. I mean, generally, I would think personally reduces the simplicity of your style, and with an army such which is so delicate, such as Wood Elves, you really would be dictating your entire armies depending on how well you choose your how well you choose your character, and people will know that some characters will be better than others, and then they will know how to combat the tactics which you'll be able to use for Wood Elves, and that is just something which we can't afford. So.
Yeah, no, poor Toxic is new to fantasy. I've been pushing him to try and get his Skaven out. I mean, is that something that you would actually enjoy coming in as a new player to fantasy? Would you like to kind of see that similarities, or do you really wish that kind of both games would just stay their separate routes?
No, I think it would be a good idea. I mean, why not do it? Because more options is better. And for Games Workshop looking at it, why would they not do it when if you already have an army, and then you release a new book where you can now take this lord, and now you get this unit as your core, then you got people going out that are basically buying a whole new army when they've already owned that army. So it's good for them, it's good for us because we have more options. I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah. Now, the thing that I think is a little strange about it is the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are totally thinking about taking Throg. Is that? I apologize, I keep forgetting his name. It's Throg. A lot of people are talking about taking Throg, taking Trolls as core choice, taking Dragon Ogres as our special choice, and taking are Shaggoths in the Codex still?
Yep.
Yeah, and taking Shaggoths, and it just kind of I'm scratching my head a bit at that because there's already an army based on Beasts of Chaos. It's called Beastmen. Does this seem a little strange to any of you?
Well, I mean, they are there, and they can be used. I just think they shouldn't be as easy to use, like maybe more points or something like that. I mean, too many monsters in that army would. It makes sense lore-wise because mutations eventually turn things into beasts that still follow a chaos army, but at the same time, a lot of those join a herd or whatever you want to call it for beastmen.
So, I mean, it's definitely kind of an interesting turn for lore because it almost doesn't seem like Warriors of Chaos, compared to something like Beastmen. You almost wonder if they should just call it like Chaos from the Frozen Norths compared to Chaos in the Forests or Chaos in rat form kind of thing. I mean, does that seem like it would be a bit more appropriate maybe if they did kind of a geographical standpoint on the whole Chaos thing, kind of a bit like 40K how they do with different Space Marine chapters. It's like it's all Chaos, but they're coming from different areas.
They have their different lore behind them. You have Skaven, which don't believe in gods of chaos. They are all about their own god. You have Beastmen, who have their own way of worshipping that god. Give me a second.
But so let's So you would say that it would be a better or worse idea if they did that?
I don't think so. I really agree with how they have them separated into different armies. There are 3 armies from 3 different places, yes, and they have their own flow to each of them. To call them all chaos wouldn't really work. I mean, even if you think of it, anything that has to do with the warp, anything to do with warp stone would eventually have to be considered chaos. You have ogres, which are servants to their god called the Great Maw, which was created by a giant piece of warp stone making a crater and whatnot, but it leads to mutations and chaotic effects. Should they be considered a chaos army as well?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and it's just, I don't know, that seemed to kind of throw me off, because, I mean, on one side, I just totally said that I was the person that spammed Marauders and Warriors, and that kind of was the entirety of my army. But now they have a bit more variety, and they gave an option, and now it's like, oh, there's going to be no Marauders and Warriors? That's a little strange. So next thing we'll move on to is the new models. Personally, I think the strangest thing I think Games Workshop could have done is they released a beautiful new Chaos Lord. Here, I'm going to show on the live stream. He has a spear and a sword. You know, I kind of look at him, he's beautiful. He's not necessary. I think I counted, I believe it was with you, Jamie, how many Chaos Lord models they already have. I believe he's Chaos Lord number 17. And he's not a Battle Standard Bearer. I mean, it's just kind of what gives. I mean, yeah, you can easily convert him to a Battle Standard Bearer, but at the same time, why don't they just give us a straight one? Because in this edition, in 8th edition of Fantasy, for those of you who don't know, because I know a lot of you are 40k people, a Battle Standard Bearer is very, very important for your army, because he gives you a bunch of buffs and stuff like that. Basically, you have your characters, like you would have one of your HQs get upgraded to a BSB. And essentially what he does is he allows all your units within 12 inches to reroll failed checks, just any failed psychology, leadership, break tests, or anything like that. So for basically all the armies except for undead, they're the most important, and for some reason Chaos just hasn't had a straight up Battle Standard Bearer since 2 codexes ago, where it's a limited edition guy. I think you can get them on eBay for over $100, but no one's going to pay that. Does anyone think this is a little strange that they're making just another Chaos model on foot, or do you think that it's okay because they kind of made it look like he's able to be converted?
I have a question. Has Fort World done anything to do with that?
I actually don't believe so. They've done Battle Standard Bearers for Empire, Vampires, and
I've just checked this
Orcs and Goblins, but no, they haven't done anything.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he could be converted into one, but why not make him a multi-part kit where you could replace it with, you know, with the standard? How hard would that have been?
Yeah, I mean, Kaz, do you run a Battle Standard Bearer in your current list? No?
Though there is a lot of high leadership in your army, depending on how badly in close combat your army gets defeated, your leadership is reduced by so many points. So without a Battle Standard Bearer, a unit of your elite guys who might have had a just bad dice roll could break, run, and be overrun by your enemy, and you just lost 700 points, including characters. So you need it. It's an absolute necessity.
Well, it's possible they didn't make him one because the BSB Lord sucked. Yeah, I mean, it's something I when I ran my Warriors list, it was I always put him in a unit of 20-inch Warriors with shields, and just kind of made that this unit is not moving no matter how much horrible things you do to this, they will keep fighting. That was kind of my strategy with it, but I mean, I definitely agree with Toxic. I mean, one of the things I think that Games Workshop should do, and they've only done it with very select armies, the Space Marine Captain, the multi-plastic part kit, that's a thing. The Empire Generals, the Orc Generals, I believe High Elves have it as well. I don't think any other armies have it, but basically what's really cool about especially the fantasy ones is you get a ton of plastic parts to make a Battle Standard Bearer, a guy on foot, your Battle Standard Bearer mounted on a horse, or just having a general on the horse. So you have a lot of options to do, and they don't have these kits for any other army. I mean, is this something that Games Workshop kind of shied away from because they want you to buy the blisters? I mean, I think Toxic in your podcast Battle Brothers, that was something you talked about, how people they think that they just want people to buy straight up characters. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you're giving someone this kit that, you know, makes 2 guys, then they're not going to spend money and buy 2 ballistas of guys. So, yeah, it depends on how you look at it and how greedy they are, but that's another topic. So.
Yeah, we'll probably be getting to that one later, actually, with the whole shindig about the whole Games Workshop copyright thing. But the next thing I want to move on. Oh, sorry, Jamie, you have something to say?
No, I just think another thing you have to look at is also just generally the expenses per army. And it just, depending on how many, it'll be a cost thing as well for Games Workshop probably, but just having the whole aspect of if certain characters are more expensive in different armies, they, I don't know, they might just also factor in their decision on that. So, you can never know, really.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would pay a fair amount of money if they made more plastic kits like that. Like, I feel like if they made those quality things and it was for, say for example, they did it with Chaos. Actually, the Terminator Lord is a really, really fantastic kit. But if they made the Space Marine Captain, you could also get the bits to make like Librarian or Terminator Librarian, or you can make your Captain, or you can make your Terminator Captain, or whatever. I mean, would you feel a bit more? I mean, I would throw down $50 for that, so I could make both my characters and stuff like that. I mean, it's different it would be different for 40K because I mean that would be your 2 HQs in fantasy, you know. In the Empire Army, I've seen people run. They literally take a warrior priest and a captain in every single unit because they get hatred and the cold-blooded rule. It's called something different, I know, but I mean, potentially, I think they could make more money on it. But anyways, we're going to be moving on to possibly the most expensive conversion set of all time. The Forsaken models look absolutely fantastic. Like, just look at all that stuff. I mean, one guy has an earthworm for an arm. Does that not just... That's pretty chaotic, I'd say. But, yeah, unfortunately, they're $50 for a 10-man unit, which, you know, that doesn't seem too ridiculous if you look at something like Terminators where you're spending 50 for 5 guys. But, their rules kind of stink, I think. I don't think a lot of people, will be taking these guys. So, I mean, I know... Jamie, you've mentioned doing kit bashes. I'm looking at them and I am absolutely excited because I'm going to be working on my Chaos Space Marine army. Ooh, I could be sued for that. But, okay. But, I mean, just look at the bits, man. Look at the possibilities. Is anyone really, really excited to get a box of Forsaken?
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of ideas of what I can do with it, so...
Now, Kaz, are you actually planning to run them, or are you going to strictly get them for...
If you use them right, they can be effective, but they're definitely not worth 19 points a model.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. What about, Jamie, what you said you possibly want to do some kit bashing or anything like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, just possibilities for generally the new models. Just generally, I mean, the slaughter group, if you don't go for the... if you don't go into the nuclear vortex beast, just that singular piece, even if your friends are coming out and you want to do a slaughter group, and you ask him just for that little vortex thing, the thing which you can do with mages, I know I like to get it for my Dark Elf army. Sorry, I'd really like to get it for my Dark Elf army, and then use that as just kind of scales like part of a base, or maybe even dioramas, or just generally the possibilities are so huge for that, and then all the tentacles and stuff which come with that as well. If you say to your friends who's bought it, and then you just say, hey, I'll pay you 5 to 10 quid for the bits which you're not using, then you've got some pretty awesome pieces for some kit bashing. I mean, I'm just gonna put an example of something which I really enjoyed, and it's conversion by this guy called Eastern Fringe on Tumblr. And he did this amazing dryad conversion where he used the skeletal bosses mixed with dryads to create something which is more known as actual dryads. And I really enjoyed that. I mean, just generally using the bits in a way that people would never really think of them, I think that's a huge possibility which all of these models do have. And you could easily take bits of this and add it into your 40k army because they're just so versatile. These are the bits from the Forsaken. Yeah, it's a large amount of money to pop down. I mean, in the UK it's £30, which is just a bit cheaper than the dragons. So for a single unit, you mean you gotta absolutely love them, but the possibilities of what these guys can do are phenomenal if you're really wanting to kit bash and you have that extra bit of money lying around.
Yeah. So, Toxic, have you considered looking into the Forsaken or any of the new Chaos stuff for your commission work?
I mean, yeah, I get ideas from all the models. I mean, I've thrown down $100 plus on a 10-man squad just on buying bits for conversions. So it's not really a problem. But I noticed that someone just mentioned about using them for possessed Marines. And I looked up the possessed Marines, and they're like $30-something for 5 guys. So, if you're getting that box of Forsaken for 50 and you're getting 10, and then you add like some Space Marine backpacks and things like that, that's almost a cheaper way to do it if you want, 10 possessed Chaos Space Marines, and you have a already decent sized Chaos Space Marine, bits box. But yeah, I mean, all the models look great, and they can all be used for conversions. And,
Right. Definitely my favorite among the new ones are actually the Dragon Ogres. Like you just look at them, and I almost kind of wonder if I'd possibly do some sort of conversion for like a Demon Prince or something like that, because some of the new rules right there, they become Demon Princes. Like anything can become a Demon Prince. Like can't your unit champion become a Demon Prince?
Anything that has the Eye of the Gods can.
Alright, and then we got the Slaughter Brood. Okay, so one thing I actually want to talk about, and this is more towards Kaz than anyone else. This edition, they've definitely been pushing monsters, like as one of their main things. I believe this thing costs almost as much as a Baneblade.
I think it's 74 though. I'm gonna go double check.
I believe that they're $85-$90 US. So, I'm almost kind of wondering, is this just kind of another example? I mean, Tomb Kings, they have the monsters, creatures. Are they trying to possibly push, this is, the 5th, 6th new codex for Fantasy for with the new style, with the new hardcover style? Are they trying to steer the way a game from rank and file infantry, and it's like you have a couple of units of infantry, but they have a lot more monsters and stuff like that too? Is that something that you see a bit more for Fantasy to kind of make it a bit more, I don't want to say make it a bit more like 40k, but kind of make monsters almost like the tanks of Fantasy?
I don't really see it because a lot of people who play at my gaming store, we still use a lot of rank and file units. The reason for that is because though you might have a giant monster and go make it powerful, it can be hit by anything, anywhere on the field. If you have one cannon, you can kill a giant monster in 1 round, and there you go, there's 200, 300 points gone. So, the same effect, the cannon shoots at a unit of guys, you can kill maybe 4 or 5 models, and that's not a huge deal. Magic, same thing, you can kill giant monsters, easy enough. So I don't think they're trying to steer it away from rank and file, but just give more option to larger units. I mean, whereas some things have been nerfed in the Chaos book, having a Slaughter Brood can do massive damage to your enemy.
Yeah, Toxic. With the idea of monsters kind of backed up, almost like the idea of them being tanks and stuff like that. Does that make Fantasy seem a bit more appealing to you, or does that kind of?
Yeah, I honestly think so, and I think at the end of the day that not everyone's a hardcore player, and people just like to build armies with awesome models that they think. I think Games Workshop realizes that people love big monsters, awesome looking units, and people are going to put down the money to buy them. So I don't know if that'd be steering the game away from rank and file infantry, but giving the option for people to spend $80 on one unit, and yeah, that's something that I would like to add to my Fantasy army when I'm building it up, would just be like these awesome big guys to run around the field and just, yeah.
Jamie, so what do you think? You're getting a Slaughter Brute? Is that going to be next on your paint list?
I'd love to get one, but it's just going to be sitting around for me. Like, I've got an Necros which I really wanted to paint, but I'm never really going to get into Tomb Kings because just doing those tiles killed me. And I mean, it's a lot of money to put down something, and I know I enjoy painting it, but what am I going to do afterwards with it? Because I personally have a deep-seated hatred for chaos. Just generally the models, kind of like the same which I have for Space Marines if I never ever use my Eldar. But I mean, I think one of the major problems with trying to convert 40k tactics, such as the tanks and stuff, to fantasy is that there is a large aspect which is going to be the magic, and there's hugely destructive spells which are present, and like cannons, yeah, so it's there's a lot of problems, but I don't know. Yeah, I like this sort of bit. I just realized I got majorly off topic, sorry. But I mean, I like it, but there's nothing really motivating me to buy it. I mean, it's expensive, it's pricey, and I'm not going to ever use it, so.
Alright, and, Slaughter Brute looks good, big tanky monster. I kind of look at the Vortex Mutolith, and he just kind of looks scary to paint. There's just so much going on. He's got some tentacle love in the front, he's got a party in the back, like...
Yeah, no, but you see, that'd be maybe a reason why I would paint, because the Mutolith is just a beautiful model, and it would be a challenge to paint. So, I mean, it'd be a funny thing to paint. I just want to paint the Vortex. I just want to paint the Vortex, really, because that is a beautiful bit of molding.
Okay, so that's going to be it for Warriors, but we're going to talk briefly about, because it's big news, I mean, Huffington Post even posted an article on it, is the Games Workshop lawsuit. So, from my understanding of the situation, some author, was Space Marine actually in the title of the book, or was it a plot point in the book?
Marine.
Oh god, the Commissar hat. Just take a moment to just get out of your system. Just look at the Commissar hat.
Oh, wearing funny hats? Are wearing funny hats?
Yeah, you know what? It's a serious topic. Let's get the silly hats out.
Okay.
Toxic's like, okay. So then we're talking about this super serious thing, and then we're just all wearing these really goofy hats. Get any viewers, but yeah, was Space Marine actually in the name of it, or was it just kind of a plot point?
Space Marine.
It was called the Space Marine, and Games Workshop is trying to sue her because they believe that Space Marine is a trademarked thing exclusively to the 40k universe. So, I think it's a little ridiculous that they're calling out this one person compared to what compared you look at something like Blizzard and StarCraft, when I believe they just have straight up units called Space Marines. They wear something called power armor, right? I mean,
Yeah,
what?
I think they're calling out this one person because they're small. They can't afford to fight back against Games Workshop, and Games Workshop being a bully.
I mean, that's why I'm going against Blizz, because Blizz has lawsuits every year, and they always, there's always a solution which is not really productive necessarily for people suing them, and so they're going after the small ones, I think, just to see how badly people react, really, and see how much support they have if they want to go more and more, until people are like, just another people trying to use Games Workshop's turn Space Marines. So, I think it's hugely problematic, and something which we do need to realize is probably a precursor to larger events. We just need to watch out, because, I mean, yeah, like I think you mentioned this before, Rob, or Tiny Plastic Dead on Tumblr, just Adeptus Status. That's that is something they invented. That is something which is immediately, that's Games Workshop Space Marines.
Yeah.
But I mean, Space Marines was created way before Games Workshop, and they're trying to lay claim to an intellectual property right, which they didn't create, which I think is one of the major problems here.
So, do you think they're going to win? I guess that's the next question for all of you. Do you think Games Workshop is actually going to win this thing? Toxic, you're shaking your head. Why aren't they going to win?
They can maybe get that one book taken down, but I mean, how can you really, how can you own the one Space Marine? And I think eventually people are going to come out and fight against it. It's just a matter of time. But then I could be wrong, and we could be getting sued every time we say Space Marine now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things where I think Games Workshop might win this particular case at this particular time is because the author has stated in a couple of interviews that they cannot pay to have a lawyer to rebuttal this kind of case. So I think there are public support of military gamers and people in favor of this specifically. Or maybe it just is a small community. I don't think there's enough people who are aware of the situation or aren't fully aware, and then maybe have a view where they do think Games Workshop has a right. And so I think unless people are fully educated, and unless this reaches a much wider spectrum, and maybe there's a whole campaign which gets her the money, I'm pretty sure the authors are her, to rebuttal this case, because otherwise I don't see how a small author can go against such a large corporation.
Yeah, Reviewed Bread just asked when pointing out every other instance of Space Marine be used as a viable argument, and I believe Huffington Post in their thing they actually said that Space Marine has been used as a word titles for books since 1936. So that's 50 years before 40K even existed. And they're trying to trademark a word. It might be because possibly they're trying to branch out a bit more into the video game realm. And if they have a game called Space Marine, that might be it. But it's still, personally to me, it's a dick move.
Because with THQ going bust,
All right.
How much money are they spending on this? That's what I want to know. Is how much money are they just wasting at this stupid thing when they could be putting it into some new models or something? That's what I look at.
Who knows who might have a price increase?
Yeah, are we paying for this stupid thing when they increase their prices?
We're paying by buying Forsaken. That's a conspiracy, man. That's Zinch's ways. We'll make great Forsaken models, make them pay, and then we will get a lawyer. I figured it out. It's over. You can go home.
You can get Forsaken bits for $10 for a set of arms or whatnot on eBay very easily. So.
All right. So does anyone else have anything to say about this? We're running on the half-hour time. So anyone else want to throw in anything before?
Well, I think at the moment I don't think they actually have spent much money on it. As far as they've just sent the letter to Amazon already, which was the cease and desist almost. And I mean, they haven't really had any contact with the media since. And have they actually contacted the author?
I think actually the most messed up part about the whole thing is I watched a video interview with the girl who they're suing, and apparently she doesn't even know about Warhammer or 40K or anything. She's like, I have no idea this thing existed, which is kind of.
And I think that is a valid point, which can be brought to light that it's such a large trope within the sci-fi and fantasy realm that Games Workshop has absolutely no right in my opinion.
Yep. So anyone else?
I think we went over what we were planning to. So.
Right. All right. So this is the third episode of The Hammer, playing around with some new technology. Seemed to work pretty well, except for my horrible mistakes. But great things must be learned along the way. So if you guys want to say your Tumblrs real quick before we call it a night. So I'm hero of the universe. I'm the actual person that is like the head of the blog. But so you probably found actually this live stream. Yeah, you know what? Just post it in freaking.
Yeah, no. Well, I
chat.
think one important thing to mention. I think you had something to say about that, though, Rob.
Oh right. Okay. So so we've been going through some changes lately. I've been trying very hard to kind of give back to the community. I put these shows on. I put a lot of time and money into it. So Skype Hammer is now going to be a separate group. It's going to be run by our friend Sean, who I believe is in the chat room as Sub Adam Tonic or whatever. So did they actually censor your Tumblr? But yeah, if anyone's interested in joining joining Skype Hammer, he's probably the best person. I mean, I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to be,
Dealing with things.
yeah, still dealing with things. But he's going to be watching it as I am trying to get more of this stuff done. We have a lot of cool shows planned. Toxic's actually got a podcast he's planning to do weekly. When do we agree that they're going to be airing?
Yeah, they're going to be every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday?
Yeah, we just did episode 2 last night, and that was pretty awesome. So that'll be out on Wednesday.
What's the topic?
The topic's fluff versus practical. Fluffy army competition. We go over a army list, and we talk about the lack of Razorbacks and Land Raider variants in the Chaos Army list.
Yep, and got a few other things. Dragon and I were planning on doing a show weekly. I think we're gonna try airing it Thursday. It's gonna be basically a everything that's not games workshop. So I believe he's gonna be doing a review of the pen and paper Star Wars RPG that just got released. What else? I think he's got a few other games from Fantasy Flight. He wants to try and do a board game, a card game, and an RPG each episode. So if you guys are interested in possibly spreading your add some variety into your tabletop gaming, it should be a fun show. So yeah, and and I should probably mention the name we're changing to. If you haven't noticed, this is a new live stream called Dice Troop, and that's going to be what our new name is because we're going to be trying to branch out to everything. So Dice Troop is just the name we kind of came up with. So Skype Hammer will be its own separate thing.
Yeah, just because it kind of coincided nicely with the whole low speed going on and one that we just wanted to ship because it's not Skype anymore. It's not Skype. And just with a bit of Games Workshop being a bit to get happy with the series, we decided that Dice Troop, nice branched out nicely, bunch of Fantasy Flight games, and just we can now do the maybe War Machine and stuff, and so it gives some nice variance really.
Yep. All right. So that'll probably be the end of the episode. I didn't forget anything else, did I, Jamie? Thank you for reminding me, or I totally would have missed that huge thing.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I really can't think of anything else.
All right. Well then, that will conclude tonight's episode of The Hammer. Thank you all for joining. We will be airing probably sometime next Sunday. We're trying to get consistent times down. Toxic and I are going to be coming up with a topic, so we'll be working on that. And of course, if you have any, comments or suggestions, we're definitely open to that.
Even questions even.
Yeah, questions.
Always nice.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we will see you later.
Blood for the blood god.
Blood for the blood god.
Had to be done.